The first time I realized Tara Whitmore was going to be a problem was 6 months before she stole my bonus. I was standing in the fourth-floor kitchen at Halden Metrics, stirring creamer into my coffee, when I overheard her talking to the CTO. "The base project shows incredible promise," she said, her voice carrying that polished confidence that came from years of corporate climbing. "I've been strategizing ways to improve the cross-flow analysis algorithms." I nearly choked on my coffee. The cross-flow analysis was my algorithm, one I'd spent 3 months developing in relative isolation. Tara had only been briefed on it the previous day. I'm Samantha Rourke-Sam to everyone except my mother when she's angry and at 38. I'd spent nearly 15 years building a reputation as one of the sharpest data scientists in financial technology. I'd joined Halden Metrics 4 years ago when they were still a mid-sized analytics company with big ambitions. Now we were the rising star in AI-driven financial optimization, helping Fortune 500 companies identify inefficiencies and streamline their operations. The BAICEE system, Budgetary AI Streamlining Engine, was my brainchild, my masterpiece. It represented thousands of hours of work, countless late nights, and the culmination of everything I'd learned throughout my career. The system could analyze complex corporate spending patterns and identify redundancies with a precision that frankly shocked even me. Our initial projections suggested it could save our clients tens of millions. And here was Tari, who'd been hired as Director of Data Operations just 3 months ago, already positioning herself to take credit. I should have said something then. Should have casually walked over, coffee in hand, and corrected her. Actually, I'd love to walk you through how the cross-flow analysis works. Tara, it's quite complex. Simple, professional, establishing boundaries. Instead, I did what I'd always done when faced with workplace politics. I retreated to the comfortable certainty of my code and data. Let the results speak for themselves, I thought. They always had before. That was my first mistake. The base project accelerated quickly over the next few months. Our initial client tests showed even greater savings than projected. The system was identifying inefficiencies that seasoned financial analysts had missed for years. Word spread, and suddenly we had a waiting list of Fortune 500 companies eager to implement our solution. I assembled a small team of brilliant engineers, Raj, a database architect with an uncanny ability to optimize queries, Zoe, a front-end developer who could transform complex data into intuitive visualizations, and Marcus, a security specialist who ensured our system met the stringent requirements of financial institutions. We worked in perfect harmony, each bringing unique strengths to the project. Tara attended our weekly meetings, nodding along as I explained our progress, occasionally asking questions that revealed her limited technical understanding. I didn't mind explaining. Teaching had always been a passion of mine, but I couldn't help noticing how she scribbled notes furiously whenever upper management joined our calls. By the 5-month mark, Base was exceeding all expectations. Our pilot program with Westbrook Financial had identified $12.3 million in potential savings in their first quarter alone. When the results were presented to their board, they immediately signed a 3-year contract. That success opened the floodgates. Within weeks, we implemented Base at Arrington Global, Jensen Holdings, and Cortex Wave Industries. The system adapted to each company's unique financial structure, growing more sophisticated with each deployment. The real breakthrough came when we landed Turner Michaels, a multinational conglomerate with notoriously complex finances. Their CFO had been skeptical. They'd tried 3 different optimization solutions over the past 2 years with minimal results. "Give us 3 months," I promised during our pitch meeting. "If we don't find at least $8 million in savings, you don't pay a cent." It was a bold guarantee, one that made our CEO visibly nervous. But I knew what Base could do. 2 months later, we presented Turner Michaels with our findings: $48.7 million in potential annual savings through reorganized supply chains, optimized staffing allocations, and consolidated vendor contracts. Their CFO actually stood up and applauded. The news spread throughout Halden like wildfire. Our stock jumped 12% overnight, and suddenly, Everyone wanted to talk to the person behind base. Except that person wasn't me. I first noticed the shift when I wasn't invited to the executive briefing on the Turner Michaels success. When I asked Marcus about it, he'd been called in to discuss security protocols. He looked uncomfortable. Tara ran most of the meeting, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. She talked about the strategic vision for base and how her direction had shaped the project. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. And did anyone ask about the technical implementation, the algorithms? She said those details were handled by her team of engineers and that she'd have you provide documentation later, if needed. That evening, I discovered the company-wide newsletter in my inbox, featuring a glossy photo of Tara standing confidently beside our CEO. The headline read, "Halden's AI Revolution: How Tara Whitmore's Vision is Transforming Financial Analytics." The article described BASE as the culmination of Whitmore's strategic initiative to harness artificial intelligence for financial optimization. My name appeared once, buried in the third paragraph, as one of the talented engineers executing Whitmore's innovative vision. I stared at my screen, a strange mixture of anger and disbelief washing over me. This wasn't just a colleague taking a bit too much credit. This was a complete rewriting of reality. The next morning, I requested a meeting with our CEO, Jonathan Hayes. His assistant scheduled me for a 15-minute slot the following week. When I arrived at his office, I found Tara already seated inside. "Sam, perfect timing," Jonathan said, gesturing to a chair. "Tara was just updating me on the base rollout schedule. Your team has done excellent work implementing her framework." I felt my carefully prepared speech evaporating as I processed his words. "Actually, Jonathan, that's what I wanted to discuss. There seems to be some confusion about the development of base." Tara smoothly interjected. "Sam's being modest. Her technical contributions have been invaluable in executing the vision. That's actually why I've recommended her for the lead role in our next phase of client implementations." I blinked, momentarily thrown off balance. A promotion. Was this her way of buying my silence? "That's not why I'm here," I said, trying to regain my footing. Base wasn't developed from an existing framework. It's a system I conceptualized and architected from the ground up. Jonathan glanced between us, his expression growing uncomfortable. Tara's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened. "Sam and I clearly need to align on communication," she said smoothly. "As I've explained to the board, Base emerged from the strategic initiative I proposed last quarter. Sam and her team have done tremendous work on the technical execution, which is why I'm advocating for her advancement." Before I could respond, Jonathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it apologetically. "I'm sorry, I need to take this. But it sounds like you two should sync up on messaging before the investor presentation next week. We need to present a unified front on our flagship product." And just like that, the meeting was over. As we walked out, Tara placed a hand on my arm, her grip surprisingly firm. "Let's be clear," she said, her voice low. "Base is transforming this company, and there's success enough for everyone. Don't make this difficult, Sam." I pulled my arm away. "I designed Base. I built its core algorithms. That's not a matter of opinion. It's documented fact." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "What's documented is that the project falls under my departmental authority. Everything created here belongs to Halden, and as director, I determine how it's presented. You're a brilliant engineer, Sam. Don't squander your future by fighting battles you can't win." She walked away, leaving me standing in the hallway, feeling as though I'd just been both threatened and dismissed. I spent the rest of the day in a fog, alternating between anger and disbelief. That evening, I called my older sister Claire, a corporate attorney in Boston. "It's called corporate appropriation," she said after I explained the situation. "And unfortunately, it happens all the time, especially to women in tech." "But I have documentation," I insisted. "The Git commits, the project logs, the initial proposal, they all have my name." "Which would matter in a copyright dispute, but that's not what this is. You developed Base as an employee of Halden, correct?" "Yes, but..." "Then legally, It belongs to the company, not you. And the company can choose who becomes the public face of the project. I sank deeper into my couch. So Tara can just take it, take credit for years of my work. Claire's voice softened. I'm not saying it's right, Sam. I'm saying you need to be strategic. If you push too hard against an executive who has the CEO's ear, you could end up sidelined or worse. So what do I do? Just accept it. Document everything. Keep records of all your contributions. And look for allies in upper management who might recognize what's happening. This isn't about winning a single battle. It's about protecting your position for the long term. I took her advice, meticulously organizing evidence of my role in developing Base. I reached out to allies, my former manager, who had approved the initial concept, colleagues who had witnessed the system's evolution, even clients who had worked directly with me during implementation. Meanwhile, Tara's star continued to rise. She appeared in industry publications as the architect of Halden's AI revolution. She represented the company at conferences where she spoke confidently about concepts I had explained to her just days before. The Turner-Michaels success made her the darling of the executive team. I tried to focus on the work itself, on making Base even better. We expanded the system's capabilities, adding modules for real-time adaptation and predictive modeling. Our client list grew, and with it, the documented savings we generated. And then came the email that made everything crash down. It arrived on a Friday afternoon. A message from Human Resources with the subject line, Annual Performance Compensation Update. I opened it expecting to see details of the substantial bonus I'd been promised. Halden had a policy of rewarding innovations that generated significant revenue, and Base had far exceeded the threshold for the maximum bonus tier of $50,000. Instead, I read, Dear Samantha, due to year-end budget adjustments, we regret to inform you that performance bonuses for your department have been reallocated. While your performance has been noted as exceptional, company-wide financial considerations have necessitated this difficult decision. Your base compensation and benefits remain unchanged. Regards, Halden Metrics Human Resources. I stared at the screen, reading and rereading the terse message. Budget adjustments. Base had generated millions in new revenue. The company's stock had reached an all-time high just last week. I printed the email and walked directly to Tara's office. Her assistant tried to stop me, saying she was in a call, but I pushed past him and opened her door. Tara looked up from her desk, momentarily startled before her expression settled into cool composure. Sam, I'm in the middle of something. I placed the printed email on her desk. What is this? She glanced at it, then closed the folder she'd been reviewing. It's exactly what it says. Budget cuts have affected bonus allocations across several departments. Budget cuts. We've just had the most profitable quarter in company history, largely because of Base. She leaned back in her chair. The executive committee makes these decisions, not me. Several teams had their bonuses adjusted. Which teams? I challenged. Because I checked with Raj and Marcus. They got their bonuses. Zoe too. Something flickered across her face, annoyance, perhaps, that I'd verified this information. Financial decisions are made based on a complex set of factors. You blocked my bonus, I said flatly. After taking credit for my work, after parading around as the genius behind Base. Her expression hardened. Budget cuts affect everyone. Sam, it's nothing personal. Nothing personal. I couldn't keep the incredulity from my voice. You've systematically erased my contribution to the most successful product this company has ever developed. And now, you've blocked the compensation I was promised. She stood up, smoothing her impeccable blazer. I think you're letting emotion cloud your judgment. This attitude isn't helping your position. And frankly, it's beneath someone of your technical caliber. What would help my position? Tara Moore quietly doing the work while you take the credit. What would help, she said coldly, is remembering that you're part of a team that I lead. Your technical skills are valuable, but they're just one piece of a complex business operation. I stared at her, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity what I was up against. It wasn't just opportunism. Tara genuinely believed she deserved the credit because, in her mind, management was the real work. The actual creation was just implementation. "We're done here," I said quietly, turning to leave. "Sam," she called after me, "don't make this situation worse for yourself. There will be other bonuses, other projects." I didn't respond, pulling the door closed behind me with forced restraint. Instead of going back to my desk, I walked to the small courtyard behind our building. The December air was crisp, but I barely felt it. My mind was racing, cycling through options, none of them good. I could escalate to HR, but they reported to the executive team, the same people who had embraced Tara's version of events. I could reach out to Jonathan directly, but our last interaction had made it clear where his allegiances lay. I could quit, but that felt like conceding defeat, like letting Tara win completely. As I stood there, I overheard voices from around the corner. Two people had stepped out for a cigarette break, partially hidden by a large planter. "Absolute genius how she handled it," a woman was saying. I recognized the voice Andrea from marketing. "Handled what?" her companion asked. "The whole base situation. Tara managed to position herself as the visionary while keeping that engineer, what's her name, Sandra, in the background." "Sam," the man corrected. "Samantha Rourke." "Right, Sam." Anyway, I just overheard Tara telling Melissa that she'd successfully pushed that engineer out of the spotlight, and now the bonus was coming her way instead. Called it resource reallocation, or something corporate like that. They laughed, and I felt my blood turn to ice. Not a company-wide budget cut, not an executive decision. Tara had specifically targeted my bonus and diverted it to herself. I walked back inside, my course of action suddenly clear. This wasn't about credit anymore. This was fraud, misappropriation of company funds. And I was going to prove it. I spent the weekend combing through everything I had access to. I reviewed the base code base, confirming that my digital fingerprints were on every critical component. I compiled email threads, meeting notes, and project documentation that established the timeline of development, all predating Tara's arrival at Halden. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. Our VP of Engineering, David Chen, had implemented a knowledge management system last year that automatically recorded and transcribed all technical meetings for future reference. The system was primarily used by engineers to recall complex discussions, but it created an irrefutable record of who said what. I spent hours reviewing these recordings, finding multiple instances where I explained core concepts to Tara, where she asked basic questions that revealed her limited technical understanding, where she explicitly acknowledged that certain algorithms were Sam's creation. Even more critically, I found a meeting where we discussed the bonus structure for innovations. Tara had been present when our CFO, Ellis Darnell, confirmed that as the principal architect of BASE, I would qualify for the maximum innovation bonus. But I still needed to prove that Tara had diverted my bonus to herself. That required access to financial systems I couldn't reach. Monday morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. I needed to speak with Alice from finance, one of the few people who had always seen through Tara's facade. I found her already at her desk, reviewing spreadsheets with intense concentration. "Alice, I need your help," I said without preamble. She looked up, taking in my expression. "This looks serious." "It is. I need to know if Tara Whitmore received an exceptional bonus allocation recently." Alice's eyes widened slightly. "Sam, you know I can't share compensation information." "This isn't gossip." "Alice, I have reason to believe she's committed fraud. She blocked my innovation bonus for base and reallocated it to herself." Alice was silent for a long moment, her expression troubled. "That's a serious accusation." "I know, and I wouldn't make it without evidence." She studied me, then sighed. "I can't tell you about anyone else's compensation, but I can tell you that the innovation bonus pool wasn't reduced. It was fully allocated." That was confirmation enough. "Is there a record of who approves these allocations?" "All financial transactions have an approval chain," she said carefully. Bonus allocations for your level would typically be approved by your direct supervisor, then by the department head if they're different people, and finally by finance. So Tara would have been the one to remove me from the bonus list. Alice didn't confirm or deny, but her expression told me everything. Whatever you're planning, be careful. Tara has a lot of allies upstairs. Thanks, Alice. I turned to leave, then paused. One more thing, does Ellis Darnell review these allocations personally? The CFO, not usually, no. He sets the overall budget, but individual allocations are handled at the department level. I nodded. A plan beginning to form. Ellis Darnell had a reputation for absolute integrity. He'd come from a prestigious accounting firm and had transformed Halden's financial governance. He was also one of the few executives who hadn't fallen under Tara's spell. Their interactions in meetings were always cordial but reserved. If anyone would care about financial misconduct, it would be Ellis. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. That afternoon, an announcement appeared on our internal communications platform. Quarterly Intelligence Briefing, this Thursday at 2 p.m. Join us for our quarterly company-wide live stream where department leaders will showcase Halden's most significant innovations and achievements. Special feature Tara Whitmore presenting BASE Revolutionizing Financial Analytics. All employees are encouraged to attend virtually. Executive team will be present in Studio A. Quarterly Intelligence was Halden's version of an all-hands meeting, but with a polished, almost TV-like production. It was streamed to all employees and recorded for future reference. And now Tara would use it as yet another platform to cement her stolen reputation. Unless I could stop her. I spent the next 2 days preparing meticulously. I organized my evidence into a clear, undeniable narrative. I created a secure digital package with links to all the original source materials, code repositories, meeting recordings, email threads, project documentation. I wrote a cover letter that was factual and unemotional, outlining exactly what had happened and how it could be verified. Then I did something I'd never done before. I created an anonymous email account. From it, I sent the package to Ellis Darnell with the subject line, Financial Misconduct at Halden Evidence for CFO's Eyes Only. In the email, I wrote, Mr. Darnell, the attached documents provide evidence that Tara Whitmore has Fools 1. Falsely claimed credit for the development of the BASE system. Fools 2. Fraudulently blocked a contractually promised innovation bonus to the system's actual architect. 3. Reallocated that bonus to herself despite having no technical role in the system's development. All claims can be verified through company records. Of particular interest may be the meeting transcript from September 15th, where you personally confirmed the innovation bonus structure for BASE's principal architect. This information is being provided to you directly due to your reputation for integrity. No other executives have received this communication. The full evidence will also be submitted to the board of directors this Friday if no action is taken. I sent the email on Wednesday evening, just 18 hours before the quarterly intelligence broadcast. Then I went home, barely slept, and returned to the office on Thursday with my resignation letter saved as a draft in my email. I didn't know if Ellis would even see my message in time. He might dismiss it as a disgruntled employee. Or worse, he might forward it directly to Tara. The hours crawled by. At 1:45 p.m., employees began logging into the livestream platform. I joined from my desk, watching as the view count climbed into the hundreds. At precisely 2 p.m., our CEO appeared on screen, welcoming everyone to the quarterly update. He ran through recent achievements, client acquisitions, revenue milestones, upcoming initiatives. Then he smiled broadly. And now, the moment many of you have been waiting for. Over the past year, Halden has developed a revolutionary system that's transforming how Fortune 500 companies optimize their finances. The architect of this innovation is here to tell us more about BASE and its unprecedented success. Please welcome Tara Whitmore. The camera panned to Tara, immaculate in a tailored blue suit, her confident smile beaming at hundreds of virtual viewers. Thank you, Jonathan. It's an honor to share the BASE journey with all of you today. She launched into a polished presentation, complete with sleek slides showing impressive metrics. She described how she had envisioned a system that could transform raw financial data into actionable intelligence, and how she had assembled a team of engineers to execute this vision. I watched, a strange calm settling over me. This might be my last day at Halden, but I wouldn't leave without the truth being known. Tara was just transitioning to a slide titled Future Innovations when something unexpected happened. Ellis Darnell appeared at the edge of the frame, speaking to a production assistant. The assistant looked startled, then nodded. Moments later, Jonathan Hayes stepped back into view, interrupting Tara mid-sentence. "I'm sorry, Tara, but we need to pause for a moment. Ellis has an urgent matter to address." Tara's perfect composure faltered slightly. "Of course, perhaps we can address any questions after the presentation." "Actually," Ellis said, stepping into frame, "this concerns the presentation itself." His tone was measured, professional, but there was an unmistakable tension in his posture. The camera pulled back to show all three of them. Jonathan looked confused. Tara maintained her smile through visible effort, and Ellis stood rigidly, a tablet in his hand. "I've just received some concerning information regarding the base project." Ellis continued. "Information that requires immediate attention before we continue with this presentation." Tara's smile finally slipped. "I'm not sure what you're referring to, Ellis, but perhaps we could discuss this privately after. This concerns matters of financial governance and intellectual attribution." Ellis interrupted. "As CFO, I have a fiduciary responsibility to address potential misconduct immediately." The livestream chat exploded with messages. Hundreds of employees were watching this unexpected drama unfold in real time. Jonathan stepped forward. "Ellis, what exactly are you suggesting?" Ellis turned slightly to face the CEO. "I've received documented evidence indicating that the development and architecture of BASE have been misattributed. Additionally, there appear to be irregularities in the innovation bonus allocations related to this project." The studio fell silent. Tara's expression had transformed from confusion to something closer to panic. "These are serious allegations," Jonathan said carefully. "Perhaps we should suspend the broadcast while we—" "No," Tara interjected. "This is ridiculous. I've led the BASE initiative from concept to implementation. Whatever evidence you've received is clearly a misunderstanding." Ellis remained impassive. "The evidence includes code repositories, meeting transcripts, and project documentation dating back 18 months. It also includes a recording from September 15th where I personally confirmed the innovation bonus structure with the principal architect of BASE, who was not you, Ms. Whitmore." The chat window was scrolling so fast now that individual messages were barely visible. Jonathan's face had hardened. "Ellis, Tara, my office, now." He turned to the camera. "We apologize for the interruption. The remainder of today's presentation will be rescheduled. Thank you for your understanding." The broadcast cut to a Halden logo, then ended abruptly. For several minutes, I sat motionless at my desk, my heart pounding in my ears. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Raj. What the hell just happened? Before I could respond, my email pinged with a new message. From Ellis Darnell Halden Metrics, com. To Samantha, Worka Halden Metrics, com. Subject urgent meeting request. Ms. Rourke, please come to the executive conference room immediately. Ellis Darnell, Chief Financial Officer, Halden Metrics. I took a deep breath, stood up, and walked to the elevator with as much composure as I could muster. Employees were gathered in small clusters, whispering intently. A few fell silent as I passed, watching me with curious expressions. When I reached the executive floor, Jonathan's assistant directed me to the conference room without meeting my eyes. I knocked once and entered. Inside, Ellis Darnell sat alone at the large table, reviewing documents on his tablet. He looked up as I entered. Ms. Rourke, thank you for coming promptly. Where are Jonathan and Tara? I asked, remaining near the door. The CEO is currently consulting with legal counsel. Ms. Whitmore is speaking with HR. I moved cautiously to the table and sat down. I assume you received my email. Ellis nodded. I did. Ordinarily, I would not act on anonymous allegations, but the evidence you provided was too specific and too serious to ignore. After verifying the meeting transcript, where I discussed the innovation bonus, I had our security team confirm the authenticity of the other materials. And I couldn't keep the tension from my voice. And it appears your claims are substantiated. The code repositories clearly show your authorship of Base's core components. The meeting recordings document your role as principal architect, and the bonus allocation was indeed modified by Ms. Whitmore 2 weeks ago, removing your name and adding her own. I exhaled slowly. What happens now? Ellis set down his tablet. That depends partly on you. Ms. Rourke. The company has been misled about the true creator of our most valuable intellectual property. That creates significant issues regarding how we've presented Base to clients and investors. There are also serious ethical and potentially legal concerns regarding the misappropriation of bonus funds. I'm not interested in a legal battle, I said. I just wanted the truth to be known. The truth will indeed be known, Ellis assured me. But there's the question of your continued role at Halden. After this incident, what are your intentions? I reached into my bag and retrieved the envelope containing my printed resignation letter. I placed it on the table between us. I came prepared to resign today. I can't continue working at a company where this kind of behavior is rewarded and protected. Ellis glanced at the envelope, but didn't touch it. That would be a significant loss for Halden. You've created something remarkable with Base, something that's transforming our business. Thank you for acknowledging that, but I don't see how I can stay after everything that's happened. He nodded slowly. I understand. Before you make your final decision, however, I'd like to offer an alternative. The executive team will be restructured following today's events. There will be an opening for a new director of innovation technology reporting directly to me, not through the existing management chain. I stared at him, processing his words. You're offering me Tara's job. Not precisely. Her role was primarily managerial. I'm proposing a new position focused on technical innovation, with the authority and resources to develop the next generation of Halden's products. He paused. Including full attribution for your work, and the bonus that was promised to you. It was a tempting offer, validation, promotion, and compensation all at once. But something in me had fundamentally changed over the past weeks. I appreciate the offer, Mr. Darnell, but I think my time at Halden has reached its natural conclusion. His expression registered genuine disappointment. May I ask what you plan to do next? I hadn't planned to share this yet, but in the wake of the day's events, it felt right. I've been developing an extension to the Base framework, a module that can adapt to emerging financial patterns in real time. The core Base system belongs to Halden, of course, but this extension was developed independently, on my own time. Ellis raised an eyebrow. And you've documented this independent development meticulously. My sister is a corporate attorney. She advised me well. A hint of respect showed in his eyes. I see. And this extension, it has commercial potential. Significant potential. I've already had preliminary discussions with investors. He was silent for a moment, calculating implications. Halden would be interested in licensing this technology, should you proceed with its development. I'll keep that in mind, I said, rising from my chair. Is there anything else you need from me today? Ellis stood as well. Just confirmation of when your resignation would take effect. Standard notice is 2 weeks, though given the circumstances, accommodations could be made. 2 weeks is fine. I'll ensure all my projects are properly transitioned. He extended his hand. Halden is losing a remarkable talent. Ms. Rourke, I wish you success in your future endeavors. I shook his hand, feeling a strange mixture of regret and liberation. Thank you for taking my evidence seriously. Not everyone would have. Financial integrity isn't negotiable, he said simply. Will you be available tomorrow to provide a full statement to our legal team? Of course. As I turned to leave, he added, And Ms. Rourke. The innovation bonus that was diverted, it will be processed correctly in your final compensation. I nodded. I appreciate that. Walking back to my desk, I felt dozens of eyes following me. Word had spread quickly. Zoe was waiting by my cubicle, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. Is it true? She whispered. Did you really expose Tara during the live stream? Not exactly, I said, sitting down and beginning to gather my personal items. But the truth came out nonetheless. And now you're leaving? She looked crestfallen. It's time, Zoe, but we'll stay in touch. Over the next 2 weeks, the story unfolded in stages. Tara Whitmore was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Jonathan Hayes issued a company-wide apology for the misattribution of the base systems development, specifically naming me as its principal architect. The innovation bonus appeared in my account, along with a separate payment labeled retention adjustment that doubled the amount. I declined 3 increasingly generous counteroffers to stay. On my final day, I met again with Ellis Darnell, who confirmed that Tara had been terminated for ethical violations. The board has asked me to make one final attempt to retain you, he said, sliding a document across the table. Full creative control, executive title, and equity compensation. I smiled but shook my head. Some bridges, once crossed, shouldn't be traversed again. He accepted my decision with grace. Then allow me to be the first to say that Halden would be interested in a partnership with your new venture, whenever you're ready. I'll remember that, I promised. 1 month after leaving Halden, I appeared in AI Today magazine in a feature titled The True Architect of Base Samantha Rourke's AI Revolution. The article detailed my role in developing the system that was now projected to save Fortune 500 companies over $200 million collectively in its first year of implementation. The final paragraph read, Rourke isn't resting on her laurels. Her new company, Rourke Analytics, has secured $12 million in seed funding to develop what she describes as the next evolution in financial AI. When asked if her departure from Halden was difficult, Rourke smiles. Some people build systems, she says. Others build legacies. I'm focused on the latter. The morning the article was published, I received a text from Raj. Tara just updated her LinkedIn. She's now a strategic consultant, no company listed. I set down my phone without responding and looked around my new office. The Rourke Analytics sign had been installed yesterday, gleaming against the exposed brick wall. A team of brilliant engineers, including Zoe and Marcus, who had followed me from Halden, were settling into their workspaces. On my desk sat a framed email, the HR message informing me of my canceled bonus. I kept it as a reminder, technical brilliance isn't enough in the corporate world. Sometimes you have to fight for what's yours. My new system wouldn't just be an extension of Base, it would render it obsolete. And this time, there would be no question who created it. I'm Samantha Rourke, and this is just the beginning of my story.